In today's video, we're going to be breaking down the chest bone, the pelvic bone, into simple shapes that you can understand and draw a little bit better. With me here today, live over at twitch.tv/lilJonnyJ. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope you guys have your pens, your pencils, whatever you're drawing along with, ready to go so that we can start drawing. Let's get into it! Drawing the pelvis and the rib cage may seem a little bit scary. You might even go, oh, but what about all these bones in here that interlope, and oh, they go in there, and oh, there's too much, there's too many bones, there's too many bones. Today we're going to be breaking down the basic shapes that make up these body parts and hopefully teach you a thing or two. Let's jump in.
I'm right, you're wrong, and here's why.
A lot of mistakes that many artists make when they're first starting to draw characters is they will mistakenly draw a square or a rectangle for the chest, which is kind of right, kind of wrong. Let me explain why. So if you take a picture of a rib cage, when you have a rib cage like this, you'll notice it isn't exactly square shaped, because if you were to draw like a rectangle over here like that, sure, you know, it fits in the rectangle, but it doesn't actually have any information to go off of for it. What you'll notice actually with the rib cage is it's more or less
egg-shaped. If the chest is an egg, then what am I? I am.
So with the egg method, what you can do is then draw on a line just like that, and a curved line just like that, so that you can understand which way the chest is facing and add in a little bit of volume. Here's what I mean by that. Let's start with the landmarks on what makes up a good rib cage. Right here you have your sternum or your breastbone, as nicely outlined by this beautiful, beautiful reference image that I have up. This is your breastbone. This is the hard part in your chest, where a lot of people go like, that connects all your ribs to your spine, and it kind of gives it all that like nice good volume. I swear I'm not grabbing at my titties, Twitch. I swear. It helps give your chest its shape, and of course its structure, blah 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 blah. We don't have to worry about that just about now. Alright, your sternum then starts going off and curving in kind of a C shape up all the way, slowly getting smaller and smaller, which is where the egg method comes back into play. Now, nothing is exactly egg shaped. It's kind of like a bullet. Future Johnny, turn everything blue. Breast. Connected to the breastbone is then the collarbone. The collarbone actually moves a lot more than you may think. Try raising up your shoulders and lowering your shoulders while feeling your collarbone right here, right above your sternum or your breastbone. You can feel both of your collarbones. And do you notice how if your arms are raised, your collarbone raises? This is a moving part in chest anatomy that connects directly to the arms. Future video, by the way. And the bottom of the rib cage always flares out. So if you breathe in, take a deep breath with me right now. Do you notice with your lungs full of air how your rib cage at the bottom starts expanding? So whenever you're drawing a chest, you can always keep it nice and simple, nice and easy to draw with the egg method. Why do I personally recommend the egg method the most? Well, first of all, it's really easy to just add in a couple of lines to show volume and the direction that it's facing. The egg method is OP. Hell, you could even foreshorten it just like that, right? You could foreshorten it just like that, which now makes it kind of look like a circle, does it not? And then you can kind of go in here, and then, you know, it's very easy to foreshorten the egg method. But for now, we're just going to kind of keep it nice and simple. We're not going to worry about perspective or nothing. We're just going to worry about the egg method. If we were to draw the egg right there, and then get some volume in here, the lines don't even have to match up for the rib cage, right? And then you get some volume in there. You already basically have a chest. Now, let's take a look at step number 2. Now, if you notice here, the chest isn't exactly egg-shaped. And what I mean by that is, where it flares out at the bottom, how it kind of goes up in sort of a U shape. In sort of a U shape, just like that. So, if you think about the rib cage, when you're drawing it, it's always good to kind of keep a little space, just draw a tiny little square right below it. I love the square in the egg method. And just kind of draw in here a line just like that. Now, there's a couple of reasons why this is really important. One, that shows the lung capacity. So, with the direction, with the line like this, you can then go in here and start really understanding how far out the lungs go, just like that. Boom, you already basically have a chest. But we're doing a study today, so don't worry. I'll make everything pretty easy, clear, and good. With that being said, right where the cross is right here, that's where you should really aim to get your sternum drawn. So, if you take a look at the sternum right over here, right here, right here, right here, right here, you see all those arrows right here? That's your sternum. Remember that. It should always start at the tip of where you drew in the upside down U, and it should always go up to where the collarbones start. So you can kind of simplify this basically with just kind of a rectangle just like that. Once again, we're not going for perfection. We are just going for simplicity. If we take a look here, it also kind of follows along the same kind of shape. Except at the top here, kind of have like a diamond shape, but an ever so slight diamond shape. So what you can do is just kind of flare it out at the top, just like that, and boom, you see, just like here, boom, you know, yes, kind of like a diamond shape, just like that. Oop, I forgot to draw on the top. Just like that, we're ready to go, we're ready to rock. Well, this diamond shape actually is also the start of where your collarbone starts. So if you were to draw on the collarbone, here and here, if you were just to draw that in there and that in there, it doesn't really look right now, does it? That's because the collarbone connects from your chest, the front of your chest, and it actually goes all the way back to your shoulders. So imagine it kind of like a curved C. So, you know, you can kind of start seeing this shape in this reference image right here. Bam. See how far out that goes? It goes out pretty far, doesn't it? Just laying everything out. Okay, well, we have that all nice and done. So how do we make it look a little more three-dimensional and actually look like a rib cage? Well, we already have the shape here. So let's see what else we can add. Alright, well, let's take a look at some of the basic shapes that make up the rib bones. Okay, well, right here, I already see a big shape just like that. So let's kind of take that there, right from where the line starts, right from where it starts curving, the line right fucking Megma. And we can go boop, 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 just like that. Kind of just copying, pasting, but with our brain. Okay, so we're just getting in the basic little shapes here. So we got one big shape there. And then in this shape here, you can actually kind of see another of those inverse shapes, and they kind of touch tips right there. So if we go ahead and we draw that, boom, we're already getting it looking a little more chest-like. We're just simplifying the shapes right now. We're not worrying about how many ribs there are. We are just simplifying the rib cage. Alright, so all we're doing right now is we're just simplifying the shapes, so no need to get ahead of yourself and start worrying like, oh, it's not looking one-to-one, because this same shape right here, this kind of checkmark looking shape, is actually used in all, if you can see, used in all of the ribs. You see all of these ribs right here? How they all use the exact same checkmark-esque shape. Even on this side, all you'd have to do is kind of just make a little inverse of it. Just a little inverse of it. It's all the checkmark shape. When you're studying something, it's always a good idea to first break down what shapes make up the object and not the object that you're drawing, if that makes any sense. What I mean by that is, well, we were just doing it with the little check mark shapes. So boom, 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 boom. You see, it doesn't even have to be perfect. We're just going in here and adding in the little check mark shapes. I'm seeing the light. You're seeing the backwards check marks. The backwards check marks. So now we can actually go in here and we can start drawing the spine. Would you look at this sexy, sexy spine? Oh, we don't even have to worry about the ribs going in here just like that, because we're just focused on simplifying. Let's take this and let's refine it just a little bit more. So a good way to do that is to lower the opacity on one of your layers, add in a new layer, and kind of draw over what you've already drawn. The curved C is the most common shape whenever an artist is drawing a character. So if you ever want to get good at your penmanship, just start drawing different variations, just like that, just like that. If you notice here, over on this side, so if we have the upside down U right here, it actually bumps up and then it starts going backwards. So bumps up and then starts going backwards, just like that. Same thing even on the right side of the skeleton here. Bumps up, goes backwards. It goes backwards until the back of the shoulder blade. And all you have to do is just add in a tiny little line underneath, because once again, everything is a three-dimensional object in this universe, unfortunately. 3 dimensions, am I right, fellows? Cue the laugh track. Now what we can do with our very, very simplified little tiny check marks and all that, so we can actually just kind of start using that check mark method to start really just going in here and drawing it. So, you know, upside down check mark, upside down check mark. People say that most people have like what, 10 ribs? 10 ribs. I only have 9 ribs. I got one removed so I can anyways, I'm very lonely. And then once you're done adding in all the tiny little shapes, it should start looking like this, just like that. Now, if you guys are ever getting confused with the upside down check marks and all that, and like, oh no, what's my hole? Is this my hole? Is this my hole? What you can do, or at least what I like to do whenever I am sketching something, is I like to add in little lines or little like cross hatchings to where I know the hole is. So it kind of makes that area a little darker so that I can understand where my shit is going. And just like that, you have the rib cage. And then from there you can start adding in like the shoulder blades, which are basically little tiny curved Doritos, because, you know, once again, there are no straight lines on the human form. Tiny little curved Doritos kind of going in there, kind of, we don't have to worry about that. So that's kind of a good way to study the rib cage. Here's an example right here of what not to do. I'm sorry to whoever drew this. You definitely employed the egg method. Bang! The pelvis, aka the vagina holder and the penor holder. We're on the pelvis bone purely for educational purposes. We're not drawing anything weird. We're just drawing the bones, okay? This reference image right here perfectly describes and shows the different shapes that go into the male and the female pelvis. Now, guys, I'm not being sexist. There's a difference in the pelvis. So the male pelvis, it doesn't really have to do much in its life. It's kind of here. It's kind of just vibing, you know. The female pelvis has to go through some trauma in their life, okay? It's got to go through some pretty massive trauma in their life. You know, they got to like push a whole watermelon like sized thing out of them, okay? If you take a look on the female pelvis here, the hole that connects to the tailbone at the end here is a lot larger compared to the male pelvis bone. Shout out to women. They gotta like, I'm by the way, I'm 6'4". I'm not 6'4". The male and the female pelvis are very similar, but also kind of different. Let's start broad. So we're just gonna kind of understand the types of shapes that make it up. So is a top view of the pelvis. Now, if I were to pull up a different reference image, like, alright. So if we take another look at this one right here, this will more accurately show what you're probably going to be mostly drawing whenever you draw a skeleton. So let's take a look at what shapes make it up. So first of all, it is a trapezoid shape. Now, if we just started off just like that, we just drew in like a trapezoid, kinda, sorta, just going along just like that, the pelvis here is actually kind of facing a little bit forward. Now, we can simplify that once again by just adding in a quick little line, just like that, just understanding which way it is going. And we gotta leave out these hip bones. So a good way to leave out the hip bones whenever you're drawing a pelvic bone is to once again use the C shape. Shout out C shape! Shout out the C shape, so you can kind of go ahead and erase that, go in here, erase that. And the shape that you will be left with would be... Now this shape may not make any sense to you, but what this shape does right here is it allows you to be able to get in the hip bones here. The hip bone, going down, and especially if you're drawing a humanoid person, drawing it this way, I know it does not look the most even, but drawing it this way also allows you to start getting in mass while keeping and preserving the hips. Before it actually gets to the spine here, it kind of gives it a little bit of a butterfly shape. Okay, well, that's pretty easy. Just kind of go in here and oh, it looks wrong. First, we have to, once again, add that quick little line at the center right here to understand exactly where the dip will be and how to properly go in here and start adding in that butterfly shape. Now that we know the basic shapes that make up the pelvis bone, let's get on to finishing it. A good way to remember how to draw the pelvis bone is just to take a look at a pair of tighty whities. And you see the shapes that we were drawing before? They're also present here. That's a really good way to remember how to draw, you know, the pelvis bone. So just to recap, we learned about the egg method for the rib cage. Egg. We learned about the flared ribs. Flared ribs. Learning how to start seeing the shapes, including how to start seeing the backwards check marks and the check mark shapes. We learned the male and the female pelvis. God, that sounds so wrong. We learned how to simplify its shapes down to its core elements. We are not trying to go for a one-to-one replication here. We are just trying to simplify the shapes to make your drawing a little bit easier and a little bit more fun. If you guys thought that any of this was educational at all for some reason, don't hesitate to like and subscribe, and maybe check me out on Twitch so that you guys can join me next Thursday when I draw. And if any of this resonated with you, I'd really recommend that you guys go ahead and check out the Discord. We have so many amazing artists there who are more than willing to answer any and all art questions you may have. I've personally seen people go from absolute shit art to amazing art just from watching my streams live over at twitch.tv/lilJonnyJ and being in the Discord. Because let's be honest, one without the other would be like bacon without the grease.